Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, instructional designers and educators. Welcome to episode 102 of the Designing with Love podcast. I'm thrilled to have David Sanchez with me today. David is a registered ER nurse turned entrepreneur, the founder and CEO of Digitalis Medical, and the founder of Miracle Recovery. With extensive frontline experience in ER, surgery, and psychiatric care, he blends clinical empathy with ethical, patient-first digital strategy to help healthcare organizations reach more patients. Welcome to the show, David.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm so glad we got connected, and I have an opportunity to really expand what my listeners learn and how they're able to grow their own businesses and learn from what you've done. So I think it's really wonderful to have you on the show.
Great.
Wonderful. So first, your path from ER nurse to founder gives you such a rare view of patient needs and growth, which is so exciting. And I love this part. So what sparked your shift into healthcare marketing, and how did that shape Digitalis's medical mission?
You know, it was kind of an interesting journey because I was working in the emergency department, helping people. And every day, this would have been 2009, 2010. That was when bath salts and spice and all these other synthetic drugs started really hitting the market where I live. Well, I was working in Phoenix first, and then I transitioned up to Northern Arizona where I live in the Prescott area. And I was really surprised. I was seeing just as many overdoses and people that needed help with substance abuse, even in the small town where I live. It's a county of only 200,000. Right. And so I really felt like I needed to do something to make a difference. People were asking for help to detox, or they were overdosing. And I was like, man, I really need to help these people. And I'm a Christian. I go to church, and I went and talked to my pastor. I said, I really feel like I'm called to do something to make an impact in these people's lives, and to do something more than just being a nurse, to give them a list of AA meetings. And so he said, well, let me talk to the church council and see what we can do. And so the church got behind me, and together we launched this program, which was called Life Transformation Recovery. Eventually it shifted into Miracle Recovery. We rebranded, but we've been saving lives since 2014, now impacting people and helping men get free from substance abuse, from drugs and alcohol. And it was through that I ended up getting into marketing, which is a crazy thing, but I didn't know it's the most competitive healthcare specialty. And so as I was trying to help people, they had to know more about us. So I got an advertising marketing team together, doing videography, working on social media, search engine optimization, Google and Facebook ads. And that's how people were finding us. And I was working with an agency, but they just weren't doing a great job. And I couldn't figure out what they were doing and how they were helping us, if at all. And eventually I said, you know what, we've got to do it ourselves. I just got to learn how to do it. We've got to figure it out. And it ended up being very effective. So after what I learned, I ended up just saying, you know what, it makes more sense. Other people, if it was this hard for me to find help with marketing and advertising, other people need this too. And so I ended up starting an agency, Digitalis, and now we help other healthcare organizations get more patients and help them with a lot of different things. But it's basically everything that they need in order to drive new patients in, educate patients, and really to be more visible online.
Wow, I love that. And it provides that holistic care that they need. And it also helps the business, those different businesses, right? The healthcare businesses to run more efficiently and to be able to be there on the front lines with the patients, so they don't get bogged down with the everyday business, and they can actually focus on patient outcomes, patient needs, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly what you want.
Yeah. Because most healthcare companies that are kind of smaller to mid-size, they really don't have the budget to hire full-time marketing people. So it makes sense to hire an agency to help to fill all those gaps. To meet those needs.
I love that. And that's what we do in instructional design. We look at where's a need, where's a gap, and how can we fulfill that? How can we make people's lives better? So in the helping professions, that's what it's about too. You're working to make people's lives better and help them, like in the case of addictions recovery, helping them to not only get through like a 12-step program or AA or something like that, but you're helping them to also live a life that's fulfilling. And so they don't go back into that relapse. You want to help them sustain that long term.
Yeah.
And I know enough about counseling to know about relapse prevention and all of that. So, you and I we could definitely talk about all those things. And, and the psychiatric part of it and all of that. So it's amazing. I love that. So I love how you found that need and you really looked at not just the healthcare part of it and patient care, but you looked at the whole business approach, and that's holistic in nature in what you did. So you found a need and you said, how can we fulfill that? And how can we make it better? Because you weren't getting your needs met as a business with the marketing agency. Yeah. And I have a marketing background. So when I hear that today, it's just like, oh, that's kind of sad, because I was actually going to go into market research and go into marketing. Yeah. So when I hear that, it's just like, it's a little bit of a bummer. It's like, yeah, I guess there's not enough help out there for businesses.
Yeah. It is pretty sad, because when you first say the word marketing or advertising, people think of as like a used car salesman who's trying to rip people off automatically. A lot of people, that's what comes to mind. But really, marketing is just being able to make your voice heard, or being able to speak in the language of the people who need your help. That's really what it is. Speaking directly to those people in a way to communicate how you can help them.
Exactly. Right. Connecting, what they need. Yeah. To how you can help them and making it applicable to them and making the language clear. And and sometimes medical terminology can be confusing at best. And so
definitely. It's a whole other language.
Exactly. Being able to make it clear and understandable for those that need the care, and they don't get bogged down in the terminology, I think is so important. So making it clear and actionable, I think, is so key for them. And and especially nowadays, there's people's attention spans are shorter, right? So being able to grab their attention and show that there's value added for them, I think is so important. Yeah, I love that. So let's connect the clinical insight that you have with those practical choices that you've made with your business. How does your nursing background change how you research, write, and pick channels? Can you maybe share one quick example from a search to a booked visit, possibly?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is just really understanding people. Yeah, from being a nurse, there were certain tools that I used, like certain softwares. Medscape would be one of them that it would use as a reference material if we're trying to understand a disease process or typical treatments for a certain disorder or what have you. And so through that, and then getting involved in advertising, I discovered that you can actually, like, let's say you're a pharmaceutical company or a medical device company that wants to target doctors. Well, unless you were a nurse, you wouldn't know that, or a doctor, you wouldn't know that that's actually a group of people. So you can target specifically people that only use that app on Google Ads or YouTube Ads.
Right.
So just really having deep knowledge of an industry, it really helps you to know how to target people, to be able to make them aware of a solution you provide to help them.
Wow, that's great. And that can translate into the kind of work that, that I do as an instructional designer, knowing your target audience, knowing what they need and how to meet them where they are and provide those. So I think my listeners will really connect to that. And those that are in education too will connect to that really well and kind of hear that, that similarity, and how having that ability to do that and know a segment of a population is so important, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, speaking their language. It's not one size fits all, but understanding who they are, what tools they use, how they work, the language they speak, the terms they use, all of those things really give you insight, and you can use that to your advantage when you're trying to communicate to them.
Right. Absolutely. So whether it's marketing and advertising, or it's creating educational materials and being able to create a pamphlet or a flyer to get to, that in a way is marketing and advertising too, because you're being able to market the services of the organization, and you're also educating them at the same time. So it's dual, right? It's education and it's advertising and marketing all in one. So it's interesting when something like that, like a flyer or a pamphlet or a handout, it can serve multiple purposes in a company or in an organization as well.
Yeah. Education is really a huge part of it. And we do something called keyword research in search engine optimization, or SEO for short, as they call it. So that's something that, there's a lot of tools out there. Google's search tool is free and it's really easy to use. Answer the Public is another one that's free, that's super easy to use. And what you can do is look on those tools and find out what terms related to a certain subject people are searching for the most. And then answer questions related to that term.
Right.
And as you do that, that's going to make you a lot more visible online. So you can put that on your blog. You can make LinkedIn articles about that. So you're answering questions that people would, they need to know the answers for that. And in that, or even a YouTube channel or educational material, because knowing the questions people ask is half the battle. Because there's questions sometimes that they're not even sure that they need to ask, or what terms they need to use, or the correct terms. But educating them in that, it really helps them, puts them at ease, and helps them go a long way in what you're doing.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that, David. It kind of reminds me of when I was watching, since we're both Christians, I don't know if you watched the Chosen series or not, but yeah, it's really neat because they just came out with the Bible roundtables for season 5. And one of the things that Dallas Jenkins, he's one of the creator. Well, he's actually the main creator of it, but he's also one of the writers and he's the director. So he has many hats that he wears, but this kind of relates to something where he was mentioning in episode 1 of the Bible Roundtable, where it was back in season 2, but the Bible app, they actually contacted him and they're like, hey, all of a sudden we have this spike in searching for Nathaniel. And they couldn't figure out why. All of a sudden, all these people were searching for Nathaniel in the Bible app. And so they figured out it actually related to that one episode in season 2 where he called him, where he's like, I saw you under the fig tree. And so people were trying to search for who's Nathaniel? Who was he? And they were trying to find out more information. So it kind of relates to that, like, right? Yeah, like there's a need. And then they noticed a spike and they were like, what's the correlation? And then they figured out it was, because that chosen episode was showing that week.
Wow,
and
that's really
cool. That's what related to that. Yeah. So it kind of ties back to that, that need that people have. And you look for those patterns, right? And you look for what people are searching for and what their needs are. And then what they ended up doing after that is they built a whole entire series in the Bible app for the chosen series, so people could dig into it deeper, and they have educational videos and everything. So that sparked a whole entire series of Bible study.
Wow, that's really cool.
In there. So it was really neat. And I was like, wow, it just reminded me of that where, and I was like, yeah, you wouldn't think that it would correlate to it, but then it makes sense. If you have something where someone wants to learn more about something in the medical field and they're just not sure how to go about that, that's a great way to do that, just to kind of look at what's the common denominator in that factor, right? That they need. And then you build something around that, or you figure out, how can I meet that need and how can I help them become more educated about that? And yeah, so it's pretty neat to have that. I love that example. That's great too. Yeah. Connecting into that. Great.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So many of my listeners, and you probably are familiar with this, of being on tight budgets. It can be hard when you're running a business. So what are 2 to 3 key ROI moves that you think a clinic can make first, such as conditions-based local SEO or a Google profile business tune-up? And why do you think those are so important to make? Hello, I have some exciting news to share with all of my listeners. There is a feature called Fan Mail. What this allows you to do is send me a text message anytime during the episode. There's a link located at the top of the description in each episode, and it says send Jackie a text message. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to send me a message letting me know what you thought about the episode, and if you have any ideas for future episode content as well. I look forward to seeing your text messages. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would say measuring things correctly is half the battle. So that way you know where your traffic is coming from on your website. How are people getting there? What are the pages that are converting the best? Those are all really important information. So just getting the analytics and reporting set up correctly. It doesn't take too long. Just getting someone who knows how to install Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics to your website is super helpful. So that's one of the biggest things. And as far as the KPIs go, click-through rate from the pages to your website is huge. And then also conversion rate is huge. And you want to know that for each page. Like if your home page is not converting well, and the conversion rate, by the way, is the percentage of people, like let's say if 100 people come to your website and land on it, what percentage of those actually end up contacting you? It could be a phone call, it could be submitting a form, whatever your final goal is.
Right.
For me, it would be like somebody scheduling a call with me. So that's critical. Those are really important. So click-through rate, conversion rate, and those would be for the specific pages that you want them to do. So it'd be like the contact page, the about us page, and the home page would be the most likely ones. Or if it's like an e-commerce website, let's say someone's buying a course, it'd be the course enrollment rate. Those would all be really valuable.
Absolutely. Right. Making sure that, that people aren't just visiting and then leaving, but they're actually converting and doing something, an action, like you said, filling out a form or, or taking that next step and contacting through that channel somehow, whether it's a phone call or booking an appointment, right? And,
Also, if someone's on your website and you're selling something to them, if it's e-commerce, like buying a course, the cart abandonment rate would be really important too. A percentage of people put something in their cart and then don't actually purchase. Right. There are there's softwares out there now that you can actually retarget those people with email and text campaigns. You retarget them with ads, specifically speaking to them. Hey, I noticed your cart's not, you didn't purchase your cart. You got our course, but you didn't buy it. And you can talk to them directly through that. So that makes it really powerful.
Wow, I love that. That's great. Yeah, and I think that helps for a lot of different areas because, like for me, I just switched over my my podcast website to Podpage, and Podpage is made for podcasts, which is great because it has Google Analytics built in where you can set up Google Analytics, and they have all kinds of different ways that you can engage. It has a guest intake form like what you filled out, and
nice.
A way to leave a voicemail, and all kinds of great engagement techniques. So it's nice when it's not just static text, right? Or images, but they actually get to interact with it, and you feel like there's value to what they stay longer on the website too, right? And
exactly. Yeah, that's dwell time. That's what we call dwell time. If it's educational related, dwell time is really important because the longer people stay on the website, either viewing material or reading material, that tells Google that your website's important to them, it matters to them. They're not just showing up and then leaving, which is called a bounce. You want your bounce rate to be as low as possible and your dwell time to be as high as possible.
Oh, okay. So you want that dwell rate to be as high as possible. Yeah. I like that. Wow, that's great. Yeah. So like a website like mine that, where I have my RSS feed feeds into the podcast website so they can listen directly on the website without having to go outside of it. And then the blog, each episode has its own page. So Podpage does a really good job. I think they're smart with their SEO.
That's really good. Yeah. I'm not familiar with it personally. I haven't heard of it before, but from what you're telling me, it sounds really good.
Yeah, it's really neat. And they have even I've done this. I've connected my LinkedIn so that when an episode comes out, it'll automatically post to my LinkedIn. So so it saves me some time. So there's even some time saving strategies, right? That we can utilize, AI technology. A lot of these, websites have that. Does Google Analytics have something like that? Like, some of that AI technology built in where you can automate some of that or anything?
They do automate a lot of the reporting. And GA4 is the new version, just came out a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And there's a lot of reporting in there. It's actually a lot deeper. The tracking is more accurate and there's a lot more depth to what's in there than there was with the older version. Yeah.
Yeah, that really helps because then you can make those smart decisions, right? And figure out, do I need to rebrand the website, or is it a certain page that I need to repurpose or something like that, without having to do a complete overhaul of the website? Because it's hard, because it's hard to tell what area, like you said, are people coming and going, and what area are they staying longer, and where can I improve that? That really helps.
Yeah, there's a story in there. When you have a website and you're not quite satisfied with it, but you don't know what to do exactly, there's some really important tools that are helpful inside Google Analytics, because just making something newer and more attractive doesn't automatically mean it's going to convert better and turn into more customers or clients. And so it's important to be able to analyze that information in there. The new GA4 does have a really good feature that shows the customer journey, which is super helpful. So it shows how people are first coming on the website, in the middle of the journey, then the end when they're actually making the decision to contact you. And it shows you how they're doing that. So like, let's say the first time they heard about you was organically through Google. And then in the middle of the journey, there's visiting you on social media. And then at the end of the journey, it could be another ad or a retargeting ad, or maybe visiting your website directly because they've already been there and now they're ready to make that decision. Those are just a couple of examples, but it does give you a lot of insight to show you what's most likely to be effective and how you should target people in where they're at in their journey of becoming a customer of yours.
Wow, I love that. That's great, David. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with empathy maps and journey maps, but that's something that they do quite a bit in marketing and business. And we also use those tools in instructional design because it helps to understand our target audience and needs. We do as part of a needs assessment and needs analysis. So
that's good.
Yeah. So it seems like those tools, when you were talking about that, the customer journey, that's similar to what a journey map is. You look at, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they doing? It's like 4 quadrants: think, feel, do, and say. So it's really cool because then you can kind of do that market analysis and figure out what are they thinking when they come to my website? What are they feeling? What are their feelings? Do they feel calm? Do they feel, energized? Things like that. Are they positive feelings or not so much? Right? Yeah. And then you can look and see what they're doing and what they're saying about it. Are they telling their other friends, or are they just, keeping? Yeah. So it's kind of neat to have that quadrant, and then it has like a person's head in the middle of it, and you just and then they also have empathy maps where you look at their journey and what they do along the way for that. So it's pretty neat to have that in marketing. And so I'm not sure if you've used those tools or if you've seen them, but
not exactly identical to that, but very similar, because it's so important. We view it a lot of times more as like a funnel, or there's the outside the funnel, top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel. Bottom of the funnel, basically marketing is like a big funnel. There's people outside of it don't know about you and they're gathering information. There's the top where they're starting to learn more with some interest. And then finally, all the way at the bottom is they're ready to make an actual decision. And at each stage in that, there's different needs, wants, desires, levels of knowledge, terms that they use. So you need to communicate them according to that in each stage.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. I love that. I think they even have these templates available on places like Canva, so you can tailor them. And I think there is something like that, marketing related, like what you talked about, that funnel, where you can do that because Canva has marketing materials and all kinds of things.
Exercises you do to be able to, like whenever I create an ad campaign, it's very important to do those exercises to really make sure you intimately understand the person, their needs, their language they speak, and everything.
Oh, wow. I like that. That is so cool. And do you even sometimes create a persona as well as you're doing that, to kind of create like an individual? They may not necessarily be a real person. You can name them if you want. Sometimes I'll tell my students, I'm like, when you're going through the needs analysis, create a user persona and figure out who your target audience is. And then even if you want to create an avatar and put it on your desk. And as you're creating those educational materials, you look at that avatar and that persona and you say, this is who I'm doing it for. So do you do things like that too? Like create a persona sometimes?
Yeah, I don't create an exact avatar with naming the person and giving them an exact age. It's more a category, more like a genre of a person. It's more like a profile.
Like a profile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's more related to their values than anything else, not specific traits like a specific age. It's more of a
Right.
range, like say 55 to 75 years old, female or
Yeah.
whatever, instead of
Right.
Debbie, 70 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. In a picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, exactly. It's more of that persona that, that more of that opportunity for you to see what am I what kind of person am I targeting? Exactly. Yeah. To see where their needs and their wants are. So that's great. I love that. That's wonderful. So as we know, proof and ethics really matter in many industries, and here especially. So how can you give us a brief case snapshot, like a starting point, one tactic, and the outcome? Which metrics do you watch, and how do you keep it HIPAA safe?
There's several different things. One of the biggest things is people are doing advertising. You want to make sure that they're communicating with patients in a way that is keeping their privacy safe. So you can't have them in ads without their permission, and you really should document that and have it on file. It should be a contract that they sign saying, hey, I'm giving you permission to use my likeness in marketing and advertising materials. So that's really important. Also, the communication is really important. You want to make sure that all of their information is definitely secure and password secure. There's been quite a few healthcare providers that have gotten fined tens of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars because of using Google Calendar for patient appointments or texting them on phones that are not secure, that don't have password protection on them. So it's not that hard. And there's so many systems out there to help keep you safe. It's just, it doesn't make sense to put yourself at risk like that.
Right. Yeah. And to take that risk. When I heard you say that, using Google Calendar, I thought, oh, wow. Yeah, that's not good or anything. Yeah. That's
asking for trouble.
It is. Yeah. Because, we think about other industries too, like the military and government and things like that. They can't use Google Calendar or anything like that, right? Or send an unsecured text. Or so if it's true for government, it's probably, I think it would be true for healthcare too, especially with HIPAA compliance. That's such a huge part of it.
It is.
Yeah. And like with counseling, telehealth, things like that's such a huge thing now with telehealth, making sure that the connection is secure and that the patient is aware, or the client's aware, right, of what's being shared and what's not being shared, and making sure all that legal compliance is in place as well. Yeah.
Very important.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to do a quick bonus question. I love these bonus questions because it kind of gives a little bit extra to my listeners. So I wanted to offer everyone kind of a quick win this week. So what's a single 60-minute fix on a website or a Google business profile that most reliably boosts qualified inquiries?
Okay, I would say the biggest things, I'll give three things.
I love it.
The biggest thing is making sure that your website converts really well. So this falls in the category of customer research. So find somebody who is your ideal customer or patient, a real person, and literally have them go on your website and tell you what they don't understand, what they want to do. Ask them what they want to do. So when you go on the website, what do you want to do? What questions do you have? What questions are not being answered on that page? Would you contact us? Is it easy to use? Is it easy to contact us?
Right.
And then if you just ask them those questions, watch how they literally record. They have screen recording softwares. They can record how they use the website and answer all their questions and make it as easy and simple as possible, clear and simple as possible. Does the language make sense to you? Are the words logical that we're using on the website? So just doing that and then making all those fixes according to that person. It could be multiple people, and that's fine. But make sure that person is in your category of your ideal customer, because that's going to go a long ways in just making sure that your business works online. Next, I would say would be focus more on your Google business profile, because that's probably the most neglected area for SEO. search engine optimization, just to make sure that you show up on Google without ads. And so you want to maximize that. So you can go inside of it, and there's a list of services if you're a service provider, and you can list every single service that you provide. So if it's a doctor's office, you would say, like any specialties that you have, the types of patients that you serve, very specifically, because it's like a mini website and it's on the Google domain and it links to your website. So it's very powerful, and you get much, much more visibility if you do that. And obviously make sure all your contact info is accurate on there. Your name, address, phone number, website address. And then just maximizing that really makes a huge impact, filling out all that information. Another thing that you can do is making sure that you're listed on all the local listings. So like you've got Yelp, Apple Maps, Bing Places, all these places have massive authority. And so creating profiles there on those, all those link back to your website, and that gives your website huge authority. But the problem is they're so hard to get on and create those listings. It just makes most sense to automate that. And there's a tool on SEMrush called SEMrush Local. It's semrush.com. And SEMrush Local, they list you on the 70 most popular, biggest website listings. And it actually goes out to hundreds of different ones. But you end up paying like $20 a month.
Wow.
And it's very powerful, and it automates it. It takes the information from your Google business profile and sends it out to all those places all at once. So
Wow.
it's very powerful.
That's amazing.
Hundreds of hours. Yeah.
Yes.
So I highly recommend that.
So it's important to make sure that you've got all those different elements in place so that you maximize your website and you maximize your search engine optimization. Exactly. Yeah. Because you don't want a website that's just sitting there collecting dust, right? You want it to be active and engaging. Right. Yeah. And to go from visits to conversion. So it's so important to have that. Wow. I love that. Yeah. It's interesting how you mentioned those big advertising, areas like, that it's hard to get into those. It's kind of, I wish they would make it easier to get into them. And,
it's a pain sometimes. Yeah. Because some of them have triple verification, like Apple Maps, you got to use your Apple ID, verify with the email and with the phone number. And it's just a bear.
Wow. My goodness. So they have the triple hoops you have to jump through.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of 2-factor, it's 3-factor, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I guess I can understand in a way, but in some senses, it's like, are you making people jump through too many hoops to get there if they're trying to authenticate and all this stuff? Yeah, it can sometimes be a deterrence more than a help sometimes. Yeah. So exactly. Balancing out the security for the convenience. It's one of those things that I think these businesses need to do a better job of, because I think they've clamped down so much on the security that now they've created barriers that I don't think they intended to create, but I think it ended up doing that. And your example is a key in that,
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, because even when you do that, it makes you show up on Amazon's voice search and also Alexa. So it's really helpful.
That's amazing. I love that. It's kind of like with the podcasting, they have the RSS feed, and then you can get listed with all the different podcasting platforms out there. But it can be hard to list yourself on all of those. So thankfully they have a tool like Buzzsprout that I use and it makes it easy, because all I have to do is just go to each one and get listed. And then I just give my RSS feed, and then I just verify it with my email. And so there's ones out there that make it easy. So
I love that. Buzzsprout's really good. There's some other ones too, but that's the one that I've used the most because it automates so much of it.
Yeah, it's really great. So it helps when it comes to getting listed, on those things. So yeah, that's kind of a good example of it too, where they try to make it as easy as possible. And then your RSS feed is your basically your one-stop shop where all your content lives. And then it just funnels out. And so it's really neat, because I've even seen, you mentioned the Alexa and all of that. And I've seen some people listen to my podcast on on Alexa, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. I love that.
Cool.
You don't expect that. And then all of a sudden you see in your analytics, you're like, oh, wow, they're listening on there too. So
nice.
Wow. So it's neat. So it's like you wonder, did they say, Alexa, I want to listen to a podcast on this? And then it just came up. I don't know, but it would be interesting to dig into it a little bit further and see, those are fun things to look at when it comes to analytics. And
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's neat. And then can you also see like where some customers, like what their region is, and then you can kind of target to that region? Because I've heard even for like podcasts, you can target people to a region. So is that something you can do with the analytics as well, as kind of see, is my target audience on the West Coast, or are they Midwest, and that as well? Does that help?
Yeah, you would see that if they're watching on your website. If you go into GA for it and Google Analytics, you can see exactly the city that your website visitors are listing from.
Wow, that's great. And even like your conversion too, for those that have services or products
you can split it down to conversion rate per area even.
Wow, that's great, because then you can maybe do a targeted ad campaign, right? Or targeted marketing for that region, and really hone in on, what their needs are. And so if it's a rural area, then you can target your services or your products to that area and make sure that you meet that target market as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. And then hopefully they share it with others and they spread the word, right? Through that. Yeah, that's great. I love that. So kind of the last question as we wrap up, for listeners who want to build a values-driven business, what's one next step they should take in the next 7 days?
Next 7 days. Just one step?
Oh, or you could do 3 again if you want. Yeah, I'm okay
there's
with
so
that.
many. Yeah. Well, if we're talking about marketing, I would say the 3 biggest things that you could do to get more visibility. Which industry are we talking here?
Oh, it could be anything. It could be healthcare. It could be education. Yeah. So, I think we could cast a wide net if you want, or zone in. Yeah.
All right, let's do that. Okay. So let's say it's so I'll do 3 or 4. So the first thing would be get listed on all the local listings, like I mentioned with the SEMrush, maximize your Google business profile. Do a press release on something that's an exciting service that you offer or somebody that you helped. A press release really creates a lot of links that go back to your website from news websites, which give you a lot more authority and more visibility in different places. And then another thing would be to launch a small ad campaign. It doesn't have to be high budget, but even just maybe $500 per month can give you a lot more impact. If you already have a lot of organic traffic, then retarget the people that have already been to your website. So that could be either Facebook ads or Google ads. Or if you're a service provider, start some Google local services ads. So these are very inexpensive and very valuable because AI is built into it. These are something that's new just in the last few years that service providers like lawyers, doctors, home services providers, that they have access to in most places in the US now. So what this is Google certified. You get a little badge next to your name and it shows your reviews. And these are guaranteed by Google that you're going to be a good provider. And so it gives you more credibility. And a lot of times, it depends on the industry, but a lot of times people are paying between $20 to $50 per click per times each person's actually contacting you.
Oh, wow.
So it's better than per click, because like per phone call, it's like $20 to $50 per phone call. So it's very reasonable compared to the standard Google ads.
Oh, wow. That's great. So you really get to target that in whoever, your target audience is. I like that. And provide those. Yeah. And having that verified symbol, right. And knowing that those reviews are verified. I think that, you're right. It adds credibility to what you're doing. So that's great. They know it's not just a one-off type of business, but they have that credibility, and they know that they're going with a trusted organization or trusted company. So
it's more difficult to get on there. It takes about 1 to 2 weeks because they required you to submit, like if you're a contractor, to submit your license number and your insurance documents. So the only people that are advertising on there are the really good ones.
Wow. So you know that they've gone through the necessary steps to get there. So it's not just anyone that gets on there. So that's great. I like that. Yeah, those are great tips. I love those. So thank you so much, David, for sharing your experience and practical strategies. For my listeners, I would like you to pick one idea from today that David mentioned. Tune up your Google business profile and a trust building profile page, or publish one clear patient education article. I think that would be a good thing to do. And then put it in motion this week. So keep charting your own path, measure honestly, and iterate with empathy. So is there anything, David, you wanted to share, like how people can find you before we end today's episode?
Yeah, sure. The best place to find me would be on LinkedIn, just David Sanchez RN, or my website, digitalismedical.com. I'm always available to schedule a call if you want to learn more about marketing or you want to help make a free marketing plan. I'm happy to help you with that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll make sure to provide those links in the show notes so people can connect with you. And I look forward to us staying connected too and having you back on the show anytime to share more of your ideas. I love how you've gone from, you still have that patient-centered approach. So I love that, but you're able to help more businesses in their marketing. So it's great. So I love that you've got that market approach too to everything.
Great. Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a great time.
Great. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.